And that's another cool thing about podcasting. Maybe you're not in the make money online space, or maybe you're not a direct response marketer, but maybe you're sitting here thinking, I'm really interested in travel, or I'm really interested in visiting historic cities or countries,
Right.
not the big, like, oh yeah, we're going to go to LA, and then we're going to go to Venice, and then we're going to go to London, and then we're going to go to Sydney. Maybe you have more of an interest in what I would call niche cities or whatever, like off the grid a little bit, not off the grid. I guess that's a bad way, but not as much talked about. Right. Like in, maybe it's a, place that I live, Portland, right? I mean, obviously Portland got a big name, but maybe it's not, something everybody talks about, or, instead of, Cusco, is that how it's pronounced?
Cusco is the city, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody knows about Machu Picchu, but maybe you're more interested in diving in, seeing what Lima is like, or something with a little less name recognition. Or, a thousand other examples. You could turn that into a podcast where, even if you don't have the funds to travel yet, maybe you look in Facebook groups, maybe you look on the internet somewhere in the communities and try to find locals who are proud of their cities and proud of where they come from, or local guides who want to drum up business for people who come to, Raleigh, North
Yeah.
Carolina or whatever, you know what I mean? And you could reach out to them, get them on a podcast, learn about the city. I'm sure they have photos or things they could share, or B-roll video if they're a content creator. And you can start creating those podcasts through a passion. And then eventually, once you build up your audience, once you build up your YouTube, maybe you get monetized as a travel channel, then you can have income coming in where you can actually then go and afford through the business to go actually do these podcasts on demand. And that's how all these travel bloggers, or not all of them, because some of them have money, but that's how you can get started as a travel blogger or a
Yeah.
travel podcaster. And you don't, like I just said, you just got to be creative. Find a way to get
Yeah.
these stories and drum up interest, and you can do that all from Zoom in the corner of your bedroom if you want, and that'd be just really cool.
I mean, that's an actual great idea if somebody wanted to start a podcast about traveling and stuff like that. I mean, just how you said it, you don't have to know the place. But what if you just go to a place and you're in a great location and then just interview a tourist guide? Something as simple as them sharing the story of that location that you're at the moment, and then you also have to, of course, be kind of intrigued in learning, right? Because you're not gonna want to just do it and not be like, okay, but I don't really care about this place. You have to just be open-minded about every single place that you go to, and just record, interview somebody, ask questions, because you genuinely want to learn about that location. Um, Also here in the United States, how people jump on a van and then they travel the United States in a van and they live the minimal lifestyle. You could turn that into a podcast as well, just talking about the locations that you've been. You park your van somewhere, you record, you start recording your podcast, and especially with the locals. If you are able to find a place where you see a lot of locals, that's so much great information and value that they can give you about the location that you are at. So that's a great. I might be thinking about it now.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing is, like, you can go, and that's awesome if you can, but if you can't, you can just search them out. People love talking about what they love, and there's a lot of great places. And I mean, you do it with restaurants as well. I mean, imagine if
Yeah.
you're that's your thing, because that's more like my wife and I, we love restaurants, and we met in the restaurant industry. It's like, what if I just like sent emails to chefs in different parts of the country? For example, maybe their restaurant got a little bit of press, or maybe they were on, an episode of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, or whatever food channel you look at, and say, hey man, I'd love to interview you about this, and just make it a little bit different. Like, hey, I know you posted your most famous dish on this, but what's your favorite dish? And I want to hear more about that. Not what's the most popular, but what's your favorite dish? I'd love to have you on a podcast, maybe 20, 30 minutes. They don't have to be an hour long.
Yeah,
I'd love to sit and talk to you about it for 30 minutes, and we can do it via Zoom at your convenience. And then you can start building that. And what you could do is you can leverage other people's publicity to help your publicity as well. Just like we bring on marketers who have followings, and we hope they'll share their content with their audience. You can do the same thing with whatever you're interested in. restaurants, travel, people who, smoke meat and barbecue. You know what I mean? Like, how cool would it be to have a barbecue podcast? And you just find, like, I'm sure there's a way you can find a new restaurant, what new restaurants open in, say, Texas. And you could find a new barbecue restaurant that opens in Texas. If you reached out to them and say, hey, man, I'd love to have you on my podcast, they'd be like, well, hell yeah, that's free publicity. And then you could dive into like what makes you different and what's your favorite things to barbecue and what's going to be the specialty. And podcasts don't have to be super formal. They can just go around with their phone and show you what the restaurant looks like, or what. You just got to be creative. You got to basically, like you said, Andre, figure out what you're interested in learning about and then create content out of it.